run the smokestack gases through a bioreactor and take the algae and pump them down. If we have oil-rich algae in the reservoir, if it held oil, it would surely hold the algae.
There are many, many different kinds of biofuels. There are many different kinds of renewable energy. 60% of the energy we use is wasted. So the focus of the Green Party platform is to cut waste. If we actually capitalize on the energy we're wasting, we wouldn't need new forms of energy for quite a long time. While we move towards becoming more energy efficient, we're falling way behind the rest of the world on all the technology.
So when do you think we can balance the carbon budget?
2100. Journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one. We're now moving backwards, so until we can start moving forwards in Canada so that we can rejoin the rest of the world in global negotiations without being the only country in the world that's a lawbreaker, then we can begin to get the kinds of emission reductions we need everywhere in a concerted global effort, because it's going to be all of us working together. We're going to rock politics in Canada, and we're going to see that a lot of Canadians agree with us that it's time, and we're going to vote green.
Is it a surprise to you that no other federal leader has made an appearance here in Calgary so far?
I think it's fairly shocking. I know that Jack Layton and Michael Ignatieff have both been in Edmonton. I'm not sure where Stephen Harper has been. He's been in my riding twice in a month. So I think they're worried about Sandwich Gulf Islands. I guess they're taking Calgary for granted.
Is that the message, you think?
Well, I think it's the message from the Conservatives. They take all of Alberta for granted.
The Premier of Alberta recently put out an open letter criticizing national parties for attacking the oil sands.
Former Premier of Alberta, Peter Naheed, said there's a traffic jam in Alberta. There's got to be something wrong with the economic picture, even for Albertans, that you can't afford to have a refinery in Alberta to refine the bitumen crude before shipping it offshore. The answer is simple. The hyperinflationary trends that are created by unplanned, unmanaged, uncoordinated approach to the oil sands, which happened when Ralph Klein ditched all the plans that Peter Naheed had in place. Alberta's got more income from alcohol and gambling than from oil and gas. Let's work in the interests of Albertans, make sure that there's a possibility of capital investment and labor markets to expand other areas of Alberta's economy. Natural gas is in a doldrum. A lot of things we can do that improve the economy of Alberta by taking the sole focus off the oil sands. George, are you playing or what?
You can play too.
I can't.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You want a stick?
I'm going to get your stick.
Oh, go for it.
High sticking! Woo!
2 minutes for power tripping.
We belong in the playoffs.
Hi, everybody. First, I want to say thanks for coming. It's awesome to see you guys. You know, I'm so excited about this election because we're finally going to get our first MP. And you know, this is not about us, not about Elizabeth, not about the Green Party. This is about Canada, about the future that is at stake. 41% of people don't even vote. But as the Green Party, we could change that. And it's funny because there's the one thing that we know is the other parties are scared of us. They're so scared of us that they showed it to everyone in Canada by blocking Elizabeth to come to national debate. And you know, what's funny about that is that all the parties were saying that they were supporting her to be there. They all changed the day of the debate because of a hockey game. If they wanted her to be there, she would be there. All they do is do the same thing. They spend millions in attack ads. Be proactive, show the solution, show what you're gonna do. You guys care, people care in Canada because our votes is increasing every year. We're the only political party from the last election that our vote has increased. All the other parties has lost voters. So this is a great encouragement because it's working. Our campaign is working and people are finally getting the message, and it's all because of you guys. Elizabeth will be our next MP, and then after that, when we have a voice, we hear a voice, everybody in Canada will hear her talk, and then they won't be able to block her anymore. We're gonna have more seats in the next election, and then things will change. So now, our leader, the moment we'll all be waiting for, Elizabeth May.
Oh, I'm supposed to be wearing that. May 2nd, right? Wasn't that the only gift? It's the only gift I ever got from Stephen Harper. Is that it's so easy to say vote May in May. It's so easy to say May Day is May 1st, but Canada's real May Day is going to be May 2nd when we elect Greens. first question I had from someone in the media, the first question I had was, is this your first visit? I've been in Calgary a great deal. I'm reminiscing about my experience in the Calgary Stampede Best Dressed Leaders Contest. What happened the first time that I was attempted to be the best dressed leader is I was the worst dressed leader. Stéphane Dion was the best dressed. This was the summer of 2008. I didn't realize what Western wear really was. I thought I could get by with going to a secondhand clothing store in Nova Scotia and buying a lot of denim. So the next time I went to a Calgary outfitter store and I put myself in the hands of a competent sales clerk named Dana. I want to buy whatever it takes to be Canada's best dressed leader in the Calgary Stampede this year. And you know what? She did it. I was best dressed leader in the Calgary Stampede contest. Now, on such things hang the future of the planet. However, the next year I came back, so summer of 2009 I'd won. Summer 2010 I came back and I found Dana. I said, let's go for two. Let's go back. So great outfit. You know what? They didn't name a best dressed leader. Once I won, they canceled the contest. So this brings me to the leaders' debates. I got in 2008 because of public protest and people demanding that this strange little consortium of media executives wasn't allowed to keep us out since they had no rules and no criteria. Certainly a lot of journalists, a lot of pundits said, that woman, she won the leaders' debate. So in 2011, they said, no, not allowed. We're not changing our minds this time. We're going to be really, really firm. We don't change at the last minute for anything. They went to court and they said to the judge, it's far too late to change anything. This is a vast and complex production. The next week, as Georges pointed out, the leaders wrote a letter that they all signed together to say, let's move the French debate so it doesn't conflict with the Habs-Bruins game. So we know what's important in this country, and unfortunately, it's not democracy. You know, I'm very disheartened by the increasingly vicious attack ads. We put forward a very sensible suggestion way before the writ dropped. We put forward our own attack ad on attack ads, and we used it to buttress our position that we should do what they do in the United Kingdom and France and Belgium and Brazil and Israel and many other countries around the world. And they just say, to avoid the airwaves being contaminated with negative advertisements that only work to discourage voter turnout, those countries actually do not allow political parties or their support groups to buy time on television. This is the kind of cultural shift in Canada that we don't want. We want to rise up in our politics. We want to see our politics embrace hope and absolutely reject fear-mongering. We want to see our politics be... We want to see our political leaders and the MPs in the House of Commons behave in ways that do not require a parental warning lest your children wander into the room and see this kind of behavior that we see in question period. That when elected as the Member of Parliament for Saanich Gulf Islands, I will restore respect and civility to the House of Commons by ending heckling in question period. That's my first commitment. And when we have democracy working again, more Canadians will vote again. And when we have more Canadians voting and we have effective government, we can focus on things that matter. How can we be in the middle of a federal election campaign where we've dispatched Canadian jets to Libya and no one's talking about what's the mission, how far does it go, are we at war in Libya? The Prime Minister, he used the words at war. The other world leaders didn't say that. They said we're there on the responsibility to protect doctrine, to make sure that Gaddafi doesn't exercise revenge on the people of his own country. But other people are saying, look, we don't even know who the rebels are. Are they pro-democracy rebels? Then Lawrence Cannon said we might want boots on the ground. I hate how men talk about boots on the ground. I've never heard a woman talk about boots on the ground. I'm sorry to bring gender analysis into this, but do they forget what's in boots? Human feet, sons and daughters. Why would we send people to war in a country where we don't know what it's about, what the mission is, where it ends? And we're in an election campaign and we're not even talking about something that's happening right now without any debate in Parliament. Isn't this the right time to engage Canadians in the central question of our foreign policy? Are we a war-making country or are we a peace-making country? We are the only party that put out a major statement on Libya during this election campaign, and I'm sure that unless you are assiduous readers of our website, you never saw it, because it never was covered anywhere. I see my friend Reverend Bill Phipps in the audience, and we are a country that should not tolerate poverty in our midst. I've taken his message across country because I found it so shocking that here in Calgary, when his United Church opens its doors for a come-in from the cold overnight so that homeless people can find shelter from the cold, the majority of the people taking shelter in Bill's church are children. And these are children where both parents are working and still can't find affordable housing. We have got to end that level of poverty, that children can't have a safe roof over their head, both parents working and they can't find affordable housing. Well, we have a solution for that. We have a platform that speaks directly to the needs of municipalities and brings in a significant program and a commitment to affordable housing. It must be done. And we have to end poverty in Canada, and it won't be an overnight effort. Ending poverty starts with ensuring that guaranteed income supplement goes up for the poorest, that we bring in tax shifting so that the lowest earning Canadians don't start paying income tax till they make $20,000 a year. And our long-term goal, and it is a long-term goal, every province and territory would have to negotiate with us and agree that we should have a guaranteed livable income so that no Canadian ever again lives in poverty. And justice for First Nations, this is an area of pure federal responsibility. This is an area where the federal government hasn't even ensured that it's safe to drink the water on First Nations reserves. This is shocking. Where the education, the level of education is so poor, where so many Indigenous youth and First Nations youth find themselves vulnerable, where the suicide rates are a scandal and a tragedy in this country. This should be something we talk about in the election campaign, and I've challenged the other leaders to start talking about it now. And we can't ignore the climate crisis. I cannot get over the fact that it's possible in a democracy for the media elite and the other parties to decide that the single largest threat to our future is, in their words, not an issue in the election campaign. It's not a political statement. It's not a fashion statement. Leadership requires, in the sort of Churchillian sense of before the Second World War, where Winston Churchill said, we're entering the era of consequences. Well, we are in our society. We have been, as boomers, living on a very big credit card, and we've racked up one heck of a debt. The debt that a lot of people talk about is the fiscal deficit and the fact that Canadians now have a $530 billion debt, $93 million a day in interest payments alone for the Government of Canada. That's a serious debt. But our credit card hasn't stopped with racking up fiscal debt, the growing gap between the rich and the poor, the crumbling healthcare system in this country. This is a social debt, and our ecological debt is the biggest of all. So we've entered the era of consequences. It's time to be responsible. It's time to stop saying somebody else can take care of our debt. Let's just get a new credit card. Let's just pretend it will all go away if we keep selling a good news story. Canadians believe, and we believe as Greens, that there's a positive future in making these changes. More jobs, better jobs, jobs for young people, early childhood education, protecting our healthcare system. All of this is not only possible, it's necessary. It's not only necessary, it's essential. What we're putting forward is the only positive vision for a country that we can believe our children will have the same quality of life that we've experienced, that our grandchildren and great-grandchildren can explore and experience the extraordinary grandeur of this province and its wilderness, of clean water and breathable air and a healthy and smart economy. And if you want those things, there's only one way to get them, and that's to vote Green. Embrace hope, embrace a positive vision, reject the politics of cynicism and negativity. Reach out your hands to one another's right across this great country and say, Canadians are not divided by fear. We embrace hope. We love each other. We care for each other. And we see the future, and it's green. Thank you.
Et aussi, nous avons un budget dans la plateforme où montre comment on peut payer pour toutes les choses que nous voulons faire. I just said that I was so happy to meet with Mayor Nenshi of Calgary, and I was very grateful that in his article in the Calgary Herald, he noted that it was only the Green Party that had a serious commitment to municipalities across Canada in our program. And of course, as a fiscally responsible party, we actually demonstrate how we would pay for our promises, and we bring down the deficit faster than the Conservative 2011 budget. Of course, he was running as purple, but I don't mind his color choice. I think it was a very hopeful moment for Canadians from coast to coast to see what Calgarians said to Canada about who you are as a city, what you care about, reflected in electing someone that was not seen as a front runner. And that's a good message for Greens, because no one ever sees us as front runners either.